Hi guys, my name is Clarice and welcome to the Costa Brava series here on YouTube. The Costa Brava series is reminiscent of my Costa Brava Watercolour Retreat that is coming up in May 2026. If you are interested in taking such a retreat where we explore watercolor, wine, food, and several experiences off the coast of Spain, check out the link in the description. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So in this lesson, I'm going to be teaching you how to paint palm fronds straight out of my Paint 50 watercolor book. And we're going to be adding some beautiful, beautiful colors to our background. So we're going to give it a background first, then add the palm fronds. And then we're going to be taking another element, and that is the sweet peas, again, out of my book. And we're going to be painting and adding it and creating a beautiful, whimsical, romantic, loose watercolor pattern. So let's get started. All right, so I'm just going to use my book, Paint 50 Watercolor Nature, as a reference here for the Costa Brava series. And we're going to be painting the palm fronds, and we're going to be adding it to our composition. So to start off, let's talk about the supplies I'm using. I'm going to be using my Bao watercolor paper. I'm also going to be using the mailing set of watercolors that I have right here. It's a great set of colors with so many different variations. We don't really have to do a lot of mixing. And then last but not least, brushes. Obviously, I'm going to be using my Princeton brushes. Specifically the round Heritage number 3. And then I'm going to get a thicker brush that we can use to dampen the whole sheet. So something like the Princeton Heritage wash brush right here, something thick that just helps you dampen the whole sheet quicker. Okay, so on that note, let's get started. I'm using my thick brush and I am going to go ahead and dampen this whole area. This is such a great way to kind of take one element that you learn from the book and kind of give it a really nice tropical feel. So I've kind of dampened the whole sheet. Watch how I am going over the sheet to really make sure the water is spread out nicely. This really does help us get a great spread when we add the color to it. So now we're going to be adding color to a sheet that is damp. So the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind is when you're doing something like this, you need to make sure that your mixture has more color and less water. So for this exercise, we're going to, instead of using the number 3 because it's so tiny, I'll add in the number 8. And we're going to get something like this color right here, which is like a really nice light pink. So I'm getting it directly from here. What I'm going to do is just go in and drop this color in, starting from the top and then kind of coming downward. Now at this point, what I'm also going to do, just to give it that added interesting feel, I'm getting this peachy tone right here. I'm going to tell you exactly what these colors are called or named in this palette in a moment. I just want to make sure I grab the opportunity to get this color mixed in while things are still damp, because time is of the essence when you are doing a project like this. You need to make sure you're getting those nice blooms while the area is still damp. This is the beauty of wet on wet watercolor. Now I'm kind of adding additional strokes to the edge. What you can also do at this point, if you would like, so I've used 2 colors to kind of zigzag my way through it. You can get your wash, just get it a little bit damp, so it's just damp, and you just go over it, and you're kind of blending the colors in. Blending the colors into one another. So I'm also making sure that edge to edge, there's full coverage going on with my paints. Once you are satisfied, you can just give it a moment to dry completely, or several moments. And then we're going to hop back on here and get to painting our palm fronds. Now I like to throw in interesting things just to kind of make the background look that much more, I guess, interesting. So what I'm doing is taking my number 3, I have water on it, and I'm going to do a splatter with just water. And what you're going to see happening is as the water is hitting the sheet, it's pushing the color away, so you're getting these white spots all around, which is almost like a bouquet effect, which I love. And I think it'll just make for a very interesting feel once the composition is done. So now allow this to dry completely, and then we're going to come back on here and we're going to be painting the palm fronds in a wet on dry technique. So just to be clear, the 2 colors that I used over here from the mailing set of watercolors is rose pink and then apricot. So these 2 blend really well, giving you some beautiful peachy, yellowish, pink hues. And then with the splatter there. So now this is dried up. We're now going to use the number 3, and I'm using 2 greens to get our palm fronds. And based off the Paint 50 Watercolor Nature book, where I also use the mailing set of watercolors, we're going to be using the yellow green and olive green, which is right here. Okay, so I'm starting off with the yellow green, which is a nice fresh green. And then we use the olive green to add in darker tones within our palm fronds. Okay, so I'm just getting a little bit of this mixture done here to the side in the palette. And now this takes a little bit of brush control when you're starting with the stem first. So I'm going to start off, these palm fronds will just be coming out from the sides, and this way it can almost work as a framed composition where you can add some wording in the center or maybe even just leave it plain. Entirely up to you. Great way to learn how to control your brush for thin strokes, but then also another great way to make something that could be a card or a wall hanging. So using the tip of the brush, holding my brush midway, I'm going to lightly graze and extend. Okay, so that's that. We're now going to get some of the olive green. I'm going to mix a little bit of that to the side, and I'm going to start off with doing 1 stroke at the top. Now feel free to turn your sheet if your hand can't kind of twirl and turn. I'm doing this because of the video, otherwise I would probably twist it and turn it around and then get better leaves. So there we go. We're doing it loosely, we're doing it in a fun manner, because now as we kind of continue creating more of these, we're starting on the tip of the brush, lightly pressing down, and then back on the tip. Getting a little bit of the olive green and dropping that in here just to give us a nice variation of green going on in here. And we continue doing the same thing throughout. So you can kind of give a little bit of a twirl and a twist. You can have some of them intertwining with one another. Okay, this is a little bit too thick over there, but we're doing it in a loose style, and I want you guys to sort of see that, you know, sometimes you paint, you intentionally want something to look a certain way. It doesn't always turn out that way, in which case, you know what, you just go with the flow. You need to just allow this to be a learning experience and be like, okay, I need to be a little bit more in control, and continue. I'm kind of mixing a ton of green here. I love getting different variations within my greenery and painting. I just feel like it adds so much more to your end results. And this is what truly makes loose style of painting so fun. That ability to let go, let loose, and not worry about getting the exact same color or exact same shape. You have a lot of freedom in exploring and just kind of allowing the colors and the strokes to kind of speak for themselves. I'm kind of just adding a bit more to the edges. And that's one of them. Now to finish this off, what you can do is take a little bit of that darker olive green and just go down the middle and add more of that deeper color. So this way you have a little bit of depth and it kind of stands out from the rest of the leaves. So we're now going to take this same concept that we've done here and add a couple more around. This ended up being quite large and covering up a lot of the sheet. So I'm going to try and do one that's kind of off to the side here and perhaps not as large. And it's the same idea. We are using the tip of our brush, pressing down and then trailing back off right there. This is a great way to kind of really practice your brush control. So practice these as much as you can, especially if you're a beginner. There is no harm in getting it wrong because Rome wasn't built in a day. And I keep saying the best way to grow and learn what your style is and kind of go with the flow is by repeating it over and over again. Also learning to have grace for those times where you do make a mistake, just like I did over there. But look at it, in the end result, it kind of doesn't stand out as much when you're looking at it as a whole until I point it out to you. So always kind of learning to find your calm over things like this where you cannot control it. Watercolor is such a great therapy for that as well. Now this looks like it's ending, it's more of a V than anything else. And sometimes that'll happen. Again, go with the flow. And just continue what you're doing. Because I promise you your end results will look just as good. So I'm just painting this as straight. And then finally getting some of that olive green and I'm dropping that down the center. And there we go. So we've got two of them. I don't want to prolong this video too much. I'm most likely going to do another one at the top 3 and then have that center open. But this is the whole concept of taking wet on wet for your background and then using a wet on dry technique to add these beautiful elements that are also present in the Paint 50 Watercolor Nature book. Very reminiscent of the Costa Brava scenery. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I'm going to go ahead and add one more and then show you the end results. If you have reached this stage of the video, you are done. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Again, everything that we are painting in the Costa Brava series is reminiscent of things we're going to be experiencing or exploring at the Costa Brava Watercolor Retreat in May 2026. I'm dropping the link in the description of this video. Check it out if you plan on taking such a trip. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll chat soon. Bye.